Lecture 15, Synthesis and Future Directions, Narratology in a Dynamic Media Landscape. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for our final lecture in this series on narratology. Over the past weeks, we've explored the foundational theories of narrative structure, delved into the works of key thinkers like Vladimir Propp and Claude Bremond, and applied their frameworks to a range of media, from classic literature to modern cinema. Today, we'll synthesize these ideas, explore how they manifest in contemporary and emerging media, and look ahead to the future of narratology in an ever-evolving media landscape. My goal is to leave you with a deeper appreciation for how stories, structured, layered, and dynamic, continue to shape our understanding of the world and our place within it. This lecture will unfold in 5 parts. First, we'll revisit the enduring relevance of structuralism, particularly through the lens of Propp and Bremond. Then, we'll examine how their frameworks combine to create layered narratives in modern media like video games, television, and transmedia franchises. Next, we'll explore how narrative theories are adapting to new forms, like immersive theater and alternate reality games. After that, we'll speculate on future directions for narratology, from computational methods to brain-computer interfaces. Finally, we'll close with reflections on the enduring power of stories and their structural underpinnings. Let's dive in. Introduction: the enduring relevance of structuralism. To set the stage, let's begin with a brief recap of the 2 giants of narratology whose work has anchored our discussions: Vladimir Propp and Claude Bremond. Propp, in his seminal Morphology of the Folktale, 1928, gave us a linear, functional model of narrative structure. He identified 31 narrative functions, specific actions like the hero leaves home or the villain is defeated, that form the backbone of folktales. His approach is systematic, emphasizing a predictable sequence that drives a story from disruption to resolution. Propp's strength lies in its clarity. It offers a universal grammar for understanding how stories progress toward closure, particularly in quest-driven narratives. Claude Bremond, on the other hand, introduced a more flexible and dynamic model in his 1966 work on narrative logic. Bremond focused on the potentialities of narrative, moments where a story could branch in multiple directions based on character choices or situational outcomes. Rather than a single, linear path, Bremond's model accounts for the possibilities of divergence, where a narrative can split into success, failure, or alternative trajectories. His strength is in capturing the complexity of decision points, making his framework particularly suited to interactive or non-linear storytelling. What makes these 2 approaches so powerful is their complementary nature. Propp gives us the skeleton of a story, its essential progression, while Bremond fleshes it out with the possibilities of choice and variation. Together, they provide a robust toolkit for dissecting narratives across media, from ancient myths to modern blockbusters. This synthesis reflects what we might call the structuralist turn in narrative studies, a paradigm shift that began in the mid-20th century with scholars like Propp, Bremond, and Levi-Strauss. This turn fundamentally changed how we analyze stories, moving us beyond surface-level content to uncover the underlying patterns that make narratives resonate across cultures and eras. Why does narratology remain vital today? Stories are more than entertainment. They're how we make sense of the world. Narratology gives us the tools to understand how stories are constructed, why they resonate emotionally, and how they evolve in response to new technologies and cultural shifts. In a world saturated with media, films, games, social media, virtual reality, narratology helps us navigate the structures that shape our experiences. It's a lens for both creators and consumers to critically engage with the stories that surround us. 2. Layered narratives, combining Propp and Bremond. Let's now explore how Propp and Bremond's frameworks combine to create layered narratives in contemporary media. By layered, I mean stories that operate on multiple structural levels simultaneously, a primary linear arc often following Propp's functional sequence, interwoven with secondary branching narratives that align with Bremond's model of potentialities. This layering is especially evident in 3 domains: video games, television series, and transmedia franchises. Let's break it down. Video games. main quests, and side quests in video games, we often see a clear distinction between the main quest and side quests. The main quest typically follows a Proppian structure. A hero, the player, is introduced, faces a disruption, a villain or crisis, embarks on a journey, overcomes challenges, and achieves resolution. Think of The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Link, the hero, awakens to a world threatened by Calamity Ganon. His journey follows a classic Proppian arc. He gathers tools, allies, and knowledge, confronts the villain, and restores balance to Hyrule. But layered within this linear arc are countless side quests, smaller, self-contained stories that align with Bremond's branching model. A side quest might involve helping a villager recover a lost item, where the player can choose to succeed, fail, or pursue alternative outcomes, e.g., keeping the item for themselves. These branches introduce variability and player agency, reflecting Bremond's emphasis on narrative potentialities. The interplay between the fixed, Proppian main quest and the fluid, Bremondian side quest creates a dynamic narrative experience that feels both directed and open-ended. Television series, season arcs, and episode branches offer another compelling example of layered narratives. Many shows are structured around a season-long arc that follows a Proppian progression. Take Breaking Bad as an example. Across its 5 seasons, Walter White's journey mirrors a Proppian quest. A disruption, his cancer diagnosis, propels him into a new role, drug kingpin, followed by challenges, alliances, and eventual resolution, or tragic downfall. The season arcs provide a clear, linear trajectory. Within each season, however, individual episodes often function as Bremondian branches. Characters face decisions that could lead to multiple outcomes, success, failure, or unexpected consequences. For instance, in an episode where Jesse Pinkman must choose whether to betray Walt, the narrative branches into potentialities, loyalty, betrayal, or compromise. These episode-level branches add texture and unpredictability to the overarching arc, keeping viewers engaged through a balance of structure and surprise. Transmedia narratives, core sagas, and expansions. Transmedia franchises, where stories span multiple media platforms, take this layering to another level. Consider the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, which we've discussed before. The Infinity Saga, spanning films like Iron Man to Avengers Endgame, follows a grand Proppian arc. Thanos, the villain, disrupts the universe by seeking the Infinity Stones. The heroes, led by the Avengers, embark on a quest to stop him, culminating in a climactic battle and resolution. This overarching saga provides a cohesive, linear narrative. But the MCU also incorporates Bremondian expansions through spin-offs, TV shows, and comics. Phase 4 and beyond, with projects like WandaVision and Loki, embrace the multiverse, introducing branching narratives that explore alternative realities and character paths. For example, Loki examines multiple versions of the titular character, each making different choices that lead to divergent outcomes. These expansions add depth and variability, allowing the MCU to balance a central Proppian saga with Bremondian explorations of what-if scenarios. Case study: the MCU revisited. Let's linger on the MCU for a moment as a case study. The Infinity Saga's Proppian structure is evident in its clear progression: a disruption, Thanos' plan; a quest, assembling the Avengers; and a resolution, defeating Thanos. Yet, as the MCU evolved into Phase 4, it embraced Bremond's branching logic through the multiverse. In Spider-Man: No Way Home, we see multiple Spider-Men from different realities, each representing a different narrative path shaped by unique choices and consequences. This interplay of a linear core and branching expansions illustrates how Propp and Bremond's frameworks can coexist, creating a narrative universe that feels both unified and infinitely expandable. This layered approach, combining Propp's linear functions with Bremond's branching potentialities, is a hallmark of modern storytelling. It allows creators to craft stories that are structured yet flexible, satisfying our desire for both closure and exploration. Third, evolving language of narrative, new forms and challenges. As media evolves, so too does the language of narrative. Today, Stories are no longer confined to traditional forms like books or films. They're unfolding in immersive theater, escape rooms, and alternate reality games, ARGs, challenging narratologists to adapt Propp and Bremond's frameworks to these new contexts. Let's explore how narrative theories are being applied to these non-traditional forms and the challenges they pose. Beyond the screen immersive theater, like productions by Punch Drunk, e.g., Sleep No More, places audiences within the story's physical space, allowing them to explore settings and follow characters at will. This creates a narrative experience that blends Propp's sequential functions, such as a hero's journey through a tragic arc, with Bremond's branching potentialities, as audience members choose which characters or subplots to follow. Similarly, escape rooms use puzzles as Proppian functions, e.g., solving a clue to escape a locked room, but offer multiple pathways or solutions, aligning with Bremond's model of choice-driven narratives. Alternate reality games take this further by embedding narratives in the real world. ARGs like The Beast, created for the film AI Artificial Intelligence, use sequential puzzles to advance a central story, Proppian, while offering players multiple avenues for participation, hacking websites, decoding messages, or collaborating online, Bremondian. These forms demand a structural awareness from creators, who must design experiences that feel cohesive yet responsive to audience choices. Interactive design and structural awareness creators of these new media are increasingly leveraging Propp and Bremond to design structurally sound yet engaging experiences. In video games, for instance, designers use Propp's functions to craft satisfying main quests, ensuring players feel a sense of progression and closure. Meanwhile, Bremond's branching logic informs side quests and dialogue trees, giving players agency to shape the story. Games like The Witcher 3 exemplify this, with a Proppian main quest, Geralt's search for Ciri, layered with Bremondian choices that affect relationships, factions, and outcomes. This structural awareness extends to other media. In immersive theater, directors script key narrative beats, Propp, while allowing audience exploration to create branching experiences, Bremond. In ARGs, designers plant clues that drive a linear mystery, while encouraging players to uncover alternative paths through collaboration. This conscious use of narrative theory ensures that interactive experiences remain coherent, even as they embrace complexity. The role of audience agency. New media also challenges traditional notions of authorship and narrative fixedness. In linear stories, the author dictates the path. In interactive media, the audience or player shares that role. This shift blurs the lines between creator and consumer, raising questions about narrative control. For example, in Mass Effect, players' choices shape the story's outcome, creating a sense of ownership over the narrative. This agency aligns with Bremond's focus on potentialities, as players navigate branching paths, but it's grounded in a Proppian framework that ensures the story progresses toward a resolution. This fluidity also affects character roles. In traditional narratives, roles like hero, villain, or helper are fixed. In interactive contexts, these roles become temporary or ambiguous. In Among Us, players can be crewmates, helpers, or imposters, villains, with roles shifting each game. This fluidity challenges narratologists to rethink how Propp's fixed functions and Bremond's dynamic branches apply when roles are no longer static. Case study: alternate reality games. Let's consider an ARG as a brief case study. In I Love Bees, a promotional ARG for Halo 2, players followed a Proppian sequence of puzzles to uncover a sci-fi mystery about an AI. Each puzzle advanced the central narrative, much like Propp's functions. However, players could choose how to engage, solving puzzles alone, collaborating online, or exploring real-world locations like payphones. These branching participation options reflect Bremond's model, creating a narrative that feels both directed and participatory. ARGs like this show how narrative theories can adapt to forms where the audience is a co-creator, navigating a structured yet open-ended story. These new forms highlight the evolving language of narrative. They demand that we expand our theoretical tools to account for interactivity, agency, and fluidity, while still grounding our analyses in the structural insights of Propp and Bremond. Future research directions in narratology. As we look to the future, narratology is poised to evolve alongside technological and cultural shifts. Let's explore some exciting directions for research, focusing on how narrative theory can adapt to new tools, media, and interdisciplinary applications. Computational narratology. One promising area is computational narratology, which uses computational methods to analyze large data sets of narratives. By applying techniques like text mining or network analysis, researchers can identify structural patterns across thousands of stories, novels, films, or even social media posts. For example, network analysis can map character interactions in a TV series, revealing how Proppian functions, e.g., hero receives aid, manifest across episodes. Similarly, text mining can uncover recurring motifs or branching patterns in fan fiction, aligning with Bremond's model. These methods allow us to study narratives at scale, offering new insights into their structural diversity and evolution. Narrative and embodiment. Another frontier is the study of narrative and embodiment, particularly in virtual reality, VR, and augmented reality, AR. These technologies immerse users in narrative worlds where physical presence and interaction shape the story. For instance, in a VR game like Half-Life, Alyx, players physically manipulate objects to progress through a Proppian quest, while their choices, e.g., which path to take, create Bremondian branches. This embodied experience redefines the relationship between narrative structure and lived experience, prompting narratologists to explore how physicality influences storytelling. Brain-computer interfaces and narrative. Looking further ahead, brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, could revolutionize narrative by allowing direct control over story pathways. Imagine a future where a BCI detects a user's emotional state or intentions, adjusting the narrative in real time. A player might think about confronting a villain, and the story branches accordingly. This aligns with Bremond's focus on potentialities, as narratives become responsive to thought itself. While still speculative, this technology challenges us to consider how narrative structures might adapt when the line between thought and story blurs. The future of shared narrative creation. Collaborative storytelling is another area of growth. Online role-playing games, e.g. Dungeons & Dragons campaigns on platforms like Roll20, and fan fiction universes, e.g. Archive of Our Own, rely on shared structural understanding among participants. Players or writers collectively build narratives, using Proppian functions to create cohesive arcs and Bremondian branches to explore diverse outcomes. This challenges traditional notions of authorship, as narratives emerge from distributed collective creativity. Narratology must evolve to analyze these decentralized participatory forms. Cross-disciplinary applications. Finally, narratology is expanding into fields beyond media studies. In public health, narrative structures are used to craft compelling campaigns that guide audiences through a sequence of actions, Propp, while accounting for individual choices, Bremond. In urban planning, narratives of city development follow Proppian progressions, e.g., problem to solution, with Bremondian branches for community input. Even in legal analysis, case narratives can be broken down into functions and choices, aiding in argumentation. These applications show how narratology's tools are versatile, shaping outcomes wherever sequences of events and decisions matter. These future directions highlight narratology's adaptability. As new technologies and disciplines emerge, our theoretical frameworks must evolve to capture the complexities of modern storytelling. Thus, final thoughts, the enduring power of story. As we conclude, let's reflect on the enduring power of stories. Despite the rise of new technologies, VR, ARGs, BCIs, the human need for narrative remains constant. Stories help us make sense of chaos, connect with others, and imagine new possibilities. Structural narratology, with its roots in Propp and Bremond, provides the essential grammar for understanding this universal phenomenon. It allows us to dissect how stories are built, why they move us, and how they adapt to new forms. In our increasingly complex media environment, narratology invites us to engage critically with both the creation and consumption of stories. As creators, we can use these frameworks to craft experiences that balance structure and freedom. As consumers, we can better appreciate the patterns that shape the media we love. And as scholars, we can push the boundaries of narratology, exploring how it applies to emerging forms and disciplines. The story of narratology itself is one of evolution. From Propp's folktales to Bremond's branching possibilities, to today's interactive and transmedia landscapes, our understanding of narrative continues to grow. I encourage you to carry these ideas forward, questioning, analyzing, and creating stories that resonate in this dynamic world. Thank you for joining me on this journey through narratology. I hope it's inspired you to see stories not just as entertainment, but as a fundamental part of how we navigate and shape our reality. Let's keep telling and studying great stories.